let me just start by saying I am deeply sorry. Straight up, I'm gonna admit it. I fucked up. I know you're probably confused as to what exactly is going on, so I'll explain everything from A to Z. For those of you who have been following Moddism, the religion of modding vehicles, you would know that we have a merch drop scheduled for February 12th. I've been super hyped about it. I was promoting it all over social media. Now the merch drop will still be happening, but we made a very unfortunate discovery recently. Before we dive into what exactly happened, let me just preface this video by saying I would never ever lie to you guys, and I don't believe in conducting bad business. Honesty, communication, and transparency are the best things to have in business. Now with that out of the way, let's get into what exactly happened from A to Z. Jumping right into it, this is the design that we're going to be releasing on February 12th. We have this really clean R32 GTR in Millennium Jade, and for the back, we have this really sick artwork that I worked on myself, and it says "In Mods We Trust." And just for context, the company that made these hoodies also made the OG hoodies and the embroidered crew necks from the previous drop. Now, that order had actually been my very first time working with this company. They're located over in Pakistan. I'm not going to include their socials just because I don't believe in sabotaging someone's business. Truth of the matter is, we just all learn as we go. Anywho, so that first batch of OG hoodies and embroidered crew necks, they all came out fine except for some minor defects, which was expected because it was a large order of 450 pieces total. Overall, I want to say I dropped about 10 grand on that, but they were super communicative and they sent me pictures of the process as they went along, so first impressions were pretty good. Now flash forward to the In Mods We Trust drop. Things started getting frustrating immediately, and it all started before the first piece of clothing was ever printed. Now for those of you wondering, I do ask for samples before I bulk order anything. I don't care how much you guarantee me the quality will be great, I just want to see a sample of it just to make sure. And plus, if the sample does come out messed up, then you can always let them know what exactly you want fixed. More context, in case you guys didn't know, I designed everything on this hoodie. This back image took me about a week just to make it on Procreate because it was my very first time making a design professionally. Not professionally, but actually doing it myself, you know what I'm saying? So I sent over the designs to the manufacturer and they printed out the back. The back came out great, but the front was the biggest issue. In all the pictures that they sent me of the front, it looked like something was extremely off. I couldn't exactly point my fingers on it. At first I thought it was the wheels that were incorrect. It turns out they didn't even use my design. So what had happened was they took the back design, printed it out. I was like, alright, cool, that works. But for the front, they decided to use their own designer's version of my design. And I don't know how hard it is to trace something and copy a design, but it was extremely off. Really ironic timing because my manufacturer just texted me right now asking me to rethink my decision. Let's continue with the story, then we'll keep going till we meet up at present day. Oh my god, he keeps texting me, bro. I am all for giving people second chances, but let me explain why I'm not giving this manufacturer a second chance. We'll get into that later, but going back to the story. So I messaged my manufacturer, why does the front look so off? Once he explained that they used their designer's version of my design, I asked them why. They said the file that I sent over was in the incorrect format. They wanted PDF? Guess what? I sent over a PDF. They wanted PNG? Guess what? I sent over PNG. Every single time, no matter what I did, they said something was wrong about the design. And so I asked them, how were you able to print out the back and not the front? Till this day, I still don't know what the reasoning was, but he had me redo that exact design 4 times. Every single time, I can't use this, I can't use this, I can't use this. And then one day he says, oh, wait, never mind, this one works. So I tell him, please use that design on the sample hoodie you're sending over. He says, okay, inshallah, don't worry. So after having a good first impression, I was more lenient with the second time around. He didn't send me a single progress picture of the front of the sample, so I didn't know what I was gonna receive until I actually received it. I get the sample, I pop it open, I come to find out they still stuck with their designer's design. And it looked freaking ugly. Red flag number 1 was going behind my back and changing up the design and not telling me until I asked. Red flag number 2, making decisions without asking me. After all, he is the manufacturer and I am the buyer in this situation. So after analyzing the sample and giving my feedback, everything seemed like it was about to be amazing again. The communication was there, but the reasoning wasn't there at all. Let me just state that there was a slight language barrier, but it wasn't to the point where it affected any prior business. So at this point in time, my manufacturer is making all the bulk orders and I'm just over here in California being like, oh yeah, I'm so excited for this next drop. As soon as the shipment of bulk orders arrived, I had my homies come over and quality check things with me. I told them to keep an eye out for any printing defects, any stitching defects, the basics, you know? So when we initially did our first quality check, we were looking at the back design and we were looking at the front. We looked at the back to make sure there wasn't any printing defects and we looked at the front to make sure they used the right design. Of course, like I mentioned, we didn't find many printing defects on the back and on the front. They did use the proper design, but when one of my friends came over to purchase a medium, I went through the already quality check boxes, picked up the first one, I noticed this is extremely misaligned. The logo was off-center, the hoodie pocket was off-centered, everything was just so whack. So I'm just like, okay, I probably missed this the first time, and I toss it in the defect pile. Then I pick up the next one, exact same thing, and that's when my heart started to drop. Now the third one I picked up happened to be a good example, but as soon as I sold the hoodie, I went back inside and I quality checked everything. Needless to say, after rechecking the mediums and the larges only, this ginormous, beautiful pile, that's how many I can't sell. As for the other sizes, it's the exact same story. As I was quality checking hoodies, it was as if every 5 hoodies would be a defect, and then the next one would maybe be perfect. And then after that perfect example, another 5 defects. There was one point when I counted 10 in a row that were all defects. The worst part is, I had a photo shoot the night prior for this exact hoodie. I didn't realize it until the next morning, but my personal hoodie that I hand selected, the hoodie pocket was so off-centered that it was basically on my hip. And I don't know about you, but I can't sell clothes like that. Some of the prints were crooked, some of them were off-centered, some of them were crooked and off-centered. As far as the hoodie pouches, most of them were off-centered and they would be stitched diagonally. Don't get me wrong, as I was quality checking everything, I did have a margin of error where I would let some things slide through, but that wasn't very often. The mess-ups I encountered were actually pretty severe mess-ups, meaning I can't sell them like that. I wouldn't feel right about you guys giving me your hard-earned money just for a half-assed piece of clothing. The design I put my blood, sweat, and tears into, but the production was extremely half-assed. Keep in mind, I sent over pictures of every single defect I found to my manufacturer, and his response to me wasn't the greatest. Essentially, he was telling me that it's not that bad. They're still wearable. You could still sell them. A piece of tinfoil is wearable. Doesn't mean you should sell it. With Moddism blowing up in 2023, I always wanted to make sure that we sold nothing but the highest quality of products, and for clothing, that's where it's most noticeable. So of course I'm not going to sell you guys misaligned hoodies and pouches. It looks ridiculous. On top of that, my manufacturer told me this is something that will only be recognized by a professional. And just for a test, I wore my extremely misaligned hoodie to the gym. I know people probably didn't notice it, maybe some did, but when it's your own brand and you're pouring thousands of hard-earned money into it, you notice everything. Which he's basically insinuating if I sold it off to you guys, you wouldn't have noticed. Which could be true, but that's terrible business. And with me, good business starts by telling the truth, which is why I'm putting out this video to you guys. Let me show you an example of what exactly all of these batches behind me look like. So I'll use my fingers as reference, my head is in the middle. As you can see, the logo is not directly below my chin. If it was centered properly, it would be exactly in the middle. And moving up, you can see how fucked up that pocket is. It might be hard to see because it's on camera, but it's extremely off-centered with the logo, and it's extremely off-centered for my stomach. And not to mention, when you wear the hoodie and the hoodie strings hang down, you can literally see if things are centered or not because it's supposed to be in the middle. After explaining everything to my manufacturer and how this is unacceptable by Moddism terms, I gave him 2 options. When conducting business, the number one thing you want to pay attention to is customer satisfaction. To put everything into perspective, I am his customer. Either send over replacement batches for all of this, or refund my money. And if neither of those options were fulfilled, I told him I would cut off business with him permanently. And in response to that, he said that he didn't have the funds to send over replacements or give me my money back. And he would tell me that his business is still growing and that he needs practice. Guess what? He used Moddism as practice. Don't get me wrong, I am one of the most understanding people when it comes to learning, but simply I don't have the time or money for these mistakes, especially when he doesn't have the money on his side to cover everything up. So after telling me that he couldn't refund the money and he couldn't send over replacement batches, all he told me to do was trust him. Not very convincing, is it? Ultimately, I've decided on cutting ties with the manufacturer. We parted ways on good terms. I just told him straight up that I'm not going to be doing business with them anymore, and I also thanked him for his time. Had I had the money and time to deal with the situation, I would have given him another chance, but that's not the case. And believe it or not, the manufacturer kept consistently pushing me to order more and shout him out on my social media. I specifically remember telling him I didn't have a good experience the first drop, so I'm gonna wait for the next one so you can prove it to me, and once you prove it to me, I will go ahead and shout you out to my business any single day. But as you guys just heard, this is what we ended up with. That's not even all of it. Like I said, that's just the mediums and the larges. Everything else is over there. Now that we recapped everything, let's talk about going forward. February 12th, these hoodies will still be releasing, but it's gonna be an extremely limited release at that. Honestly, it's a miracle that I even came out with this much that weren't defects, but if I had to toss a quick number out there, I'd say over 75% of them were defects. As far as what to do with all the messed up ones, since I can't sell them, the easiest and most wasteful thing to do would just be to toss them, but the one thing my manufacturer did get correct is that they are still wearable, and they are 100% authentic cotton fleece sourced from Pakistan. I will absolutely not lie that the hoodies are comfortable and they are great material. That being said, I live in the Bay Area where there's a lot of homeless people and it always gets gets super cold at night. So instead of just tossing out 100 hoodies that I couldn't sell, I figured I would just give 100 hoodies out to the homeless. I have the privilege of living in a house where the climate is controlled and it's always warm in here, but I understand that not everyone does. So when I get the chance to, I'll stop by some homeless shelters, maybe even some people on the street, and I'll just hand them out. All in all, I definitely lost a shit ton of money on this transaction, and it'll be something that I remember forever. It sucks that it wasn't necessarily something that was in my control, but that's just life. I know it's going to be a super limited drop this time around. This isn't exactly what I had in mind when I prayed to God that everything would sell out on drop day. Because now, yes, everything will sell out on drop day. With that being said, I understand it's going to be a super limited drop, but please, 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 this is the first time I'm going to ask for a big favor from you guys. Moddism's been my full-time job for this past year. It's my main source of income. And, well, we had a very unfortunate roadblock. We still have OG hoodies and embroidered crew necks available in 5 different colors: black, tan, maroon, navy, and forest green. On top of that, we do have some banners, decals, and flight tags left in stock, and some Moddism t-shirts. So I need y'all to do your boy one solid this time. If you can, it'd mean the world to me if you guys just picked up a crew neck or a sweater. Even a flight tag or decal is greatly appreciated. These are just some very unfortunate circumstances in the present, but the glass is half full and the merch drop is still happening February 12th at 12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Everything is available at moddism.com, link in description below. And yes, the Carmeet at Westborough Square on the 24th is still happening, 7 to 9 p.m. Of course, there's going to be no revving or burnouts, no crazy stuff like that, because we don't want it to get shut down. It's just going to be a chill night full of cars, nice people, and vibes. So if you want to come out, Westborough Square, February 24th, 7 to 9 p.m. With that being said, once again, I am deeply, deeply sorry for this inconvenience. We're just going to have our best foot up front moving forward. Definitely going to be keeping up with the YouTube and TikTok grind. I'll be honest, I have been pretty consistent with that, so, you know, that is a plus. But in all seriousness, I just want to thank you all so much for your love and support. It's been a tremendous help. And of course, none of this would have been possible without the help of you guys. So I just wanted to thank you all for helping me turn my dreams into reality. Ever since the start of Moddism has truly been a blessing. This is just a small roadblock for the time being. I promise you, we will bounce back. Sometimes, shit happens. Anyways, my Moddists, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. If you guys want to pick up anything from the shop, be sure to go to the link in the description below. You guys are real ones for sure. I promise to be filming more videos, so you will see me soon, but until next time, take it easy.